The aftermath of World War II marked the gradual fading of its horrors into the recesses of history. Left in its wake were haunting memories and a trail of catastrophic events that shook the very core of humanity. Countless lives were lost, ideologies crumbled, and new powers emerged collectively shaping the destiny of the world. On an unforgiving stage, leaders confronted their destinies. Among them, Francisco Franco and António Salazar stood tall as embodiments of dictatorial might, aligning themselves with oppressive ideologies. Franco, propelled to power by sinister forces, left Spain isolated. In contrast, Salazar's Portugal defied the odds by integrating into the new European order despite these challenges. Rooted in the 1933 authoritarian constitution, Salazar's Estado Novo weathered the tumultuous tides of the Cold War, standing strong until 1974 as the longest-standing authoritarian rule in Europe. Situated midway between Lisbon and New York, the Azores archipelago functions as a crucial aerial conduit connecting Europe and North America, while also contributing to safeguarding vital maritime passages. In this context, Portugal assumed a notable role during World War II, a role underscored and facilitated by providing base facilities in the Azores, a negotiation conducted with the United Kingdom and the United States. In 1939, Portugal and Spain signed a treaty of friendship and non-aggression, forming one of the foundations for Portugal's neutrality during World War II. While maintaining its neutrality, Portugal allowed British and American forces to use Azores bases against Germany. Additionally, Portugal sold tungsten, a crucial component for anti-armor ammunition, to both sides. However, under pressure from the Allies, Portugal discontinued these sales and stopped upplaying the German army. These agreements marked the initiation of Portugal's rapprochement with nations destined to participate in the forthcoming North Atlantic Alliance.
Inevitable in the future, it is the will of the people of the world for freedom and for peace.
On April 4, 1949, the foreign ministers from 12 countries, including Portugal, signed the North Atlantic Treaty at the Departmental Auditorium in Washington, D.C. Portugal was also a part of the Marshall Plan, which was an American initiative enacted in 1948 to provide foreign aid to Western Europe to help the continent to recover of the devastating consequences of the war and be allied to resist the communists. However, with the outbreak of World War II and the subsequent loss of several European colonies in Africa, anti-colonialism took on a new dimension. As a result, the Portuguese system was criticized. One of the most significant adjustments made in Portugal after the war was to alter the term colony to overseas provinces, and gradually the term empire faded away. António Salazar, the architect of Portugal's authoritarian Estado Novo, stood as one of the enduring dictators post-war. He relished the privileges of this era, yet remained steadfast in his resistance to align with the liberal sphere. Operating as a conservative figure, he perceived the concepts of free market principles and globalization as menaces, akin to his perspective on communism. In his book, Salazar the Dictator Who Refused to Die, Tom Gallagher wrote, "Rather than being a totalitarian, Salazar was a conservative. His rule was milder than that of contemporaries such as Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, and Franco. He engaged in only modest domestic repression, sought no territorial expansion, remained neutral in World War II, and took the side of the West in the Cold War." For the first time, Salazar began to strengthen Portugal's relations with the growing great power such as the United States, and since Salazar's rule was anti-communist, Americans backed him in his struggle against communism on the continent. Following the war, Lisbon's main ally increasingly became the USA, rather than the traditional ally Britain. Salazar was cautious about abandoning traditional customs and wary of coordinated American efforts to introduce liberal changes. But despite resistance, he allowed the creation of the Movement for Democratic Unity after World War II. The new party demanded democracy and freedom, but the Portuguese Communist Party soon took control. But in January 1948, the party was banned due to the government's anti-communist stance. In the meanwhile, Britain, the United States, and other NATO allies chose to turn a blind eye to Portugal's democratic shortcomings, driven by their shared concern of preventing the rise of communism. This shared disdain for this political doctrine fostered a certain alignment of outlooks among these nations, further cementing the underpinnings of their respective foreign policies during that period.